Hello guys, it is the Gaming Weasel back again, and today we're going to be doing my Warframe tier list. Now, a couple of things that I want to note before we actually start placing these Warframes. First off, this is my opinion, and if you're asking me what do I base this on, I base it off of my usage, which is pretty decent considering I have 2 hours inside of Warframe. And of course I'm going to be basing this off of, I guess, the player base as well, and I'm going to be basing it off on how useful these Warframes are in mission, not useless. But that third part is going to be less of a factor than the first two parts. So, as I said, keep that in mind, this is my opinion. And then, one more thing, as you can see, the video is split up into sections, so D, C, B, and A tier. Honestly, I don't think you need more than 4 tiers inside of Warframe, and that's pretty much it. Let's get started. So, the first Warframes that I would place in D tier is going to be Trinity, Frost, and Valkyr. Trinity, because she really fell off. Trinity was the healer frame of her time around 5 or 6 years ago. Now she's mostly useless. I did see her sometimes in Planets of Eidolon, you know, Eidolon hunting, but other than that, nothing really much has been shown from Trinity. I haven't seen a Trinity player in around like 2 or 3 years now, so yeah, she does need a little bit of a change, maybe have some different abilities, but nonetheless pretty bad. But Warframe, Frost only useful for his snow globe, and that's debatable as well because we have Limbo as well, because in my opinion Limbo is much better than he is. And then we have Valkyr, which is a worse Severgoth. So basically, Warcry, if you want to use Warcry, just put a Wisp speed mode on, and there you go, you have melee speed. If you want to have your fourth ability where you're half invulnerable, or half invincible, sorry, and you have claws to kill enemies with, you can use Severgoth. So pretty much that's going to be it about that. I'm actually going to put Grendel and Loki here as well. Now, a couple of things. I will be sort of changing this as I go, but if I do run into something, sorry, I forgot Atlas as well. Atlas is gonna be here definitely. I'm gonna be changing maybe it up a little bit on at the end of the video, but for now I'm gonna keep it as is. So Grendel, pretty bad. I played him, I got him when it was the previous double X3 weekend. Honestly, don't like him, don't think he's very useful in most situations. I've seen like maybe 2 or 3 players play him in the last 2 weeks, which is, I mean, pretty good, but, you know, still pretty bad Warframe in my ability, and pretty useless as well. We have Loki. Loki's good for invisibility and radial disarm, in my opinion. Other than that, pretty much useless. I mean, my build video shows it was like 2 or 3 minutes long, so yeah. And then Atlas, his rumblers are bad. You can make a One Punch Man build with him, which is really cool, or you can make a farming build with him with his, I think it's not Pacify, sorry, but Petrify. But other than that, better farming frames as well, like Korra, Hydroid, Necros. So other than that, that's gonna be mostly it. Okay, so there you go. That's gonna be D tier for now. No, I wouldn't really place any other Warframes in here. I'm looking at the Warframes, but honestly, I think every single Warframe doesn't really belong here. So yeah, that's D tier. And moving on to C tier. Okay, C tier. For C tier, we're gonna place, what's his name? We're gonna place Ash. We're gonna place Banshee. For C tier, we have Mag. We have also Nyx, Loberon, and then moving on to some other frames. I thought I saw one Warframe that I wanted to place in C tier. We're gonna put Roma here as well, just because. I'll explain when I get to him, I guess. And Zaku. And I think that's gonna be, Zephyr as well. And that is gonna be mostly it for C tier. So Ash is pretty good. I have to say, I mean, Ash is good. He has Seeking Shuriken augment and his ability, of course. And his Blade Storm is really cool as well, but other than that, it's pretty okay, I guess. It takes some time to kill enemies with him. In the current meta, there's a lot of better Warframes if you want to just kill enemies. If you want to have fun, he's really cool. He's decent at spy missions, but you also have Wukong and Loki, which are, in my opinion, much better for spy missions. So, you know, he's just here and sitting here in C. Banshee's good for making weak spots and maybe resonating Quake, but other than that, pretty much useless. Mag has been pretty good. I would place her in maybe like high C tier, which you know, I'm just gonna name it. I don't really know which one. I would place it here, I guess. High C tier. This is gonna be high C tier. I don't really know. But her abilities are much better now than they were a couple of years back. So yeah, pretty decent, but still better Warframes out there. She's a bit squishy and as well, and I don't really like that much. Nyx is okay. I've seen some people use her in the past couple of weeks. Actually, a decent sum of people have been using Nyx, and especially in Steel Path, I've seen some people play Nyx as well, saying that she's pretty cool in there. So you know, I'm guessing that she is, because I did seen some videos, and I do see that she is pretty much. Just using Steel Path sometimes. Oberon, our goat boy, has sadly fell off a little bit. Oberon was a pretty good frame, and I just still love using him. He's pretty good at survival. He has radiation damage, which is okay, I guess. Not really the best thing ever. But his Hollow the Ground as well, and his Renewal are going to be very good abilities. So he's pretty cool. Sadly, our Dragon Boy is going to go into C tier, maybe a little bit higher than Nyx. I would say, or even Banshee. Banshee's gonna go in like the end part. Maybe a little bit better than these Warframes here, but sadly, the damage that you gain is pretty okay. It's not the best, and the armor that you gain is okay, but at higher levels, you're gonna get really decimated with Roma. So, you know, he's pretty good, but I wouldn't really use him on a daily basis. So, yeah, that's pretty much it, what I have to say about Roma. Zaku, I haven't seen a Zaku player in like 6 months or something. Maybe once when I was leveling up on Hydra, but that's mostly it. I'm not saying he's a bad frame. He's actually pretty decent. He has a decent sort of kit, but, you know, gotta love that fashion frame when you activate his fourth ability. I mean, all the painstaking fashion frame that you made, it just disappears. So that's why he's in C tier. I'm just joking. I just think he's not the best mix of abilities, and yeah, that's mostly it. And Zephyr, she did get a buff and some reworks, but honestly, I would still place her in mid C tier, I guess, or closer to the end. So. I mean, her abilities, the tornadoes are pretty good, and that's mostly it. That's mostly what I use her for, and that's not saying much. So that's why she's gonna be in C tier. I actually saw one more frame that I might put in C tier as well. Where is she? Never mind. Apparently, I didn't see anything. Titania, yes, Titania. Titania is good for fast missions. Her pistols and her melee weapon are pretty good, but other than that, she's, you know, pretty meh. So I wouldn't really recommend her. Abilities are sometimes really hard to pull off, and I mean, not really hard to pull off, I mean, in that sense, but abilities are not the best. If you want to get buffs, this is what you choose, Octavia. But you know, she's okay, I guess, but really closer to the end of C tier. So yeah, that's mostly it. Moving on to B tier. Okay, so we continue on to B tier. So in B tier, we are gonna have a decent sum of Warframes. So in B tier, we're gonna put Baruch, Lavos, Ember, Equinox. I'm actually gonna put it into C tier just because, yes. And I'll talk about that in a second. Excalibur's gonna go into B tier, Gara as well, Garuda. Then we're gonna put Gauss, Hero, Hildrin, maybe. I'll look at that one in a second. And then we're gonna put Hydroid. And then we're gonna put Enoros into C tier because I kind of forgot. And then Korra is gonna stay here. Limbo, Loki was in D tier. I can refresh this, so that's gonna stay there. Mirage is gonna go here as well. Then we're gonna put Severgoth here, Vauban, Volt, Revenant is maybe gonna go into high C tier, and I'll explain why in a second. Then, oh, this is gonna be very difficult. Nesh is gonna go into B tier as well. Same goes for Evara. And let's see. I'm gonna place Nova instead of really high B tier. So let's get started. So C tier, Revenant. Revenant is mostly good with his second ability, just to have, I guess, invincibility, but it's kind of limited in a way, so that's really cool. His fourth ability does a decent sum of damage, but it wastes a lot of energy. And then his minions, his first ability is pretty bad. I wouldn't really, use it. And then his third ability, Reeve, gives you back health, so that's cool, I guess, and strips enemy armor. So that's really cool. Then we're gonna move on to Inaros. Inaros is, in my opinion, a pretty boring frame. I wouldn't really use him on a daily basis because the only thing he can do is survive. I wouldn't really place him at the end. I'll place him somewhere closer to the end. But his abilities, in my honest opinion, are pretty trash. Turning into a tornado is cool, but it doesn't do much. Then splashing sand on enemies is pretty cool, but you can do much more damage and be much better blinding enemies with other frames. And in general, I don't really like him. He's pretty boring in my opinion. Really good at surviving stuff if you use adaptation and a lot of health mods and also armor mods, but other than that, I don't really like him. Then Equinox. Equinox is good for nuking, for putting enemies to sleep as well, for buffing your team and buffing yourself as well. I'm actually going to place her in really high C tier as well, because I don't want B tier to get too crowded. But yeah, I'm definitely going to place her in high C tier because she is a good frame, but honestly, it's rarely used. I don't use it, for example. I don't use her a lot, so I'm going to place her here into high C tier. Now, the B tier. Nova has to definitely stay here. Actually, I'm going to get her out of here because she doesn't deserve to be here. Baruch, pretty cool Warframe, really big damage numbers with him. If you love seeing big red or orange damage numbers, you can definitely play Baruch. His survivability is great. Of course, you have his little bar that you need to charge up, but nonetheless, it's not that hard at high levels. So he is a very good frame in my opinion. So Lavos is our second Warframe in our B tier. Lavos is a pretty good Warframe. I don't see him used a lot, but his ability set is really good. Considering you can adapt your damage to any sort of, I guess, enemies that you're facing is really cool. Having no energy and you having a timer-based system is okay. Not the best, but definitely better than having energy, so you don't have to worry about that little tiny thing. He can get health back. He is decent at surviving. Lavos, a very, very good frame. Excalibur, of course, all we know, the poster boy for Warframe. Excalibur has to be in B tier and pretty high B tier as well. I do love Excalibur. He's pretty good at dealing damage. Not the best at like really high tier. His Exalted Blade kind of falls off. His health and armor values are pretty bad, and his ability sets is actually pretty cool. Blind Rage is really cool. Not Blind Rage, sorry. But Radial Blind is a very good ability for just crowd controlling. His fourth ability, of course, his Exalted Blade is very, very good at killing enemies. And in general, he's an okay frame. He's very decent, and that's why he's gonna be in B tier. Ember's pretty good at surviving, at dealing damage, at just reducing enemy armor as well. Honestly, not much to say about our fire girl. She is really, really good in most situations. Not the best at surviving, but she is pretty decent, and her fire damage is pretty good. Gara, and of course Gara Prime just came out. Gara is an okay frame, honestly maybe a little bit lower on the B tier list, but nonetheless a pretty cool Warframe. Good at surviving, really good at surviving, good at crowd controlling, dealing damage, at almost anything. Actually, I'm gonna place a little bit higher, again, maybe here, somewhere around here. Definitely really cool because you can stack her second ability up to millions and millions of damage and just walk around the map. All you have to worry about really is not losing that stack, but other than that, really, really cool and fun Warframe. Gauss is a really good Warframe. You can literally make yourself into a killing machine. If I play capture missions, I'm gonna use Gauss because I can kill enemies fast with his third ability and activating his fourth, so I can kill enemies much faster with my gun. His first ability makes you go super fast, so that's really cool as well, doing fast missions. Honestly, Gauss, in my opinion, is really good. He does have armor, what's it called, not armor reduction, but I guess damage reduction as well, 9%. Really, really cool to have on a Warframe, and honestly, in my opinion, pretty cool Warframe. Then we're going to be talking about Hero. Hero is a pretty cool Warframe. You can buff your team in small little instances, but mostly buffing yourself. The rate of fire buff, the reload buff, the health gain from killing enemies, the energy gain from killing enemies with his third ability, and also gaining critical chance, so that can last literally forever if you hit your headshots. He is, in my opinion, a very good frame. Very balanced. I haven't seen any issues with him. Really cool and balanced frame. Sadly, he does go into mid B tier because there are better frames. Sort of for buffing your team and doing more damage, but nonetheless B tier is going to be pretty cool for him. Garuda is a Warframe that I use a little bit less than I usually play my Warframes, but Garuda is a very good frame. I do love her. She is very fun in my opinion, very good in arbitrations. I love using her there. A very fun Warframe to play. In general, really cool Warframe. She's a really well-rounded Warframe, sort of like Hero, for example, Garuda, and then Excalibur. She's very well-rounded. Her abilities are useful. They all synergize pretty good, and in general, a very cool Warframe. Then Hilgen's gonna go a little bit lower on this list, but nonetheless, Hilgen is the shield mama. She has loads of shields. She has status neutralization. When you activate your second ability, Pillage, you can gain energy from enemies that are floated up inside of her fourth ability. She doesn't have energy. She uses shields to actually cast abilities, but a very fun Warframe. Her first ability is her little pistol, which is kind of trash, but the damage of that actual pistol is sometimes very high, depending on the build. So nonetheless, a decent Warframe. Actually, I might just bring her up just a little bit. But yeah, very cool Warframe, Hilgen. We have Limbo, or better, Frost. Limbo can make a small dome, you can make a big dome, you can control 3 interception points if you're good enough. So just a very good Warframe. I wouldn't really put him anywhere else, maybe a little bit lower on the list, but nonetheless he does deserve to be in B tier. And you can use his dome for nuking, even though I don't see that much anymore. So yeah, that's really cool. Then Hydroid. Hydroid is our farming tentacle boy. He has been unshined by Korra, but nonetheless, he does deserve to be in B tier because he's still good at farming. Not the best, maybe a little bit lower on the B tier scale, but yeah, he is pretty decent still. So if I do get a chance, if I were you, I would definitely get him. Mirage is very good for her Hollow Malevolence if you want to make that kind of a build, or you can make a build of that third ability, which I kind of forgot the name of, or sorry, not the third one, but the second one, where you create literally mini nukes on the map from health and ammo orbs. So very good Warframe. Not that good at high level, not that good at surviving, but nonetheless, she is a very good Warframe. Yeah, pretty decent. Definitely mid B tier, or I guess lower B tier. Severgoth. Severgoth is a very good Warframe. He is balanced. You do need a lot of form if you want to make him work. But that aside, he is pretty decent. Survivability is okay. Crowd controlling is very good. Then his shadow form is very good as well. You do need to charge up a little bar, but it gets charged up in literally like 3 ability charges, I guess, or uses, so you don't have to worry about that. And then but yeah, that's mostly in general. He can't really die, but he can sort of, so have to worry about that. But nonetheless, very good Warframe. Evora is a very good Warframe. In my opinion, Stealth Frame is going to be very good with her. You can pickpocket for extra loot, even though I don't see a lot of people use her. I use her in what's called Steel Path missions, farming Steel Essence, so she's very good at that, definitely, and she is pretty cool at doing damage. And if you want to go the silent way, I guess you can definitely pick her. She is very good Warframe at that. Now we have Vauban. Vauban is pretty good. His changes were very good and very needed for him. I love how they changed up his abilities. That vortex and the little thing that circles around, I kind of forgot what it's called, is his fourth ability. I love that they put the different sort of pads and I guess assist abilities in his little second ability tab thing. So that's really cool as well. His rollers, so his number 1 ability is pretty cool as well. Third ability is literally an orbital nuke, so that's really cool. That doesn't do much damage, but it's cool nonetheless. But yeah, repealing Bastille build is used, in my opinion, much more usefully on him. So that's what I do. So yeah, there you go. Nonetheless, very a little bit lower B tier, but B tier nonetheless. Neja. Neja is a very decent Warframe, good at surviving, good at buffing, good at doing fire damage and reducing enemy armor, and that's mostly it. I don't really have anything to say. Decent at crowd control with its fourth ability, yeah, definitely decent at that, and I'm not sure if I have anything other to mention, but nonetheless, decent Warframe. Volt. Volt's good for speed, for his shield, and he's very good. I'm actually going to place him a little bit higher. And he's very good as well for his ultimate ability. So, or I guess his fourth. So, very good Warframe in my opinion. Not the best at surviving, but if you use your shields correctly, you definitely have a chance of surviving. So, you don't have to worry about that. His passive is very good. When you run around, you charge up electricity and then you do extra damage. It's really cool. And yeah, good for fast missions as well. And you can defend some things with him, but limbo. So yeah, he is, I guess. But nonetheless, fourth ability is very good at crowd controlling, and that's mostly it with Volt. And yeah, moving on to nobody. Actually, that's my B tier list. So moving on to A. Okay, and last but not least, A tier. So every single Warframe that's gonna be here down here is gonna go into A tier. The thing that I'm going to do is actually, so place down these Warframes. And I'm gonna place down, actually, I'm gonna lower Wukong to a B tier and Wisp to B tier. Okay, so, maybe Protea as well. So, it's not that populated, so not every Warframe is great. Okay, so, A tier. Why did I place Protea, Wisp, and Wukong here? I know I love Wukong, and I know a lot of people play Wukong. I'm gonna place him a little bit higher than Protea. But definitely, the thing is, as I said, this is not my preference. It is the preference of other players as well. And Wukong is a very great frame. I am definitely considering putting him in low, I guess, or mid A tier. But the thing is, you know, he's really great at survival missions, at fast missions, defense missions, and some other missions he might be a little bit lacking in. But in general, you can use him in a lot of missions. Actually, I need to place him in A tier. I kind of feel bad for my monkey to place him down in A tier, in B tier, sorry. Even though it is a high B tier, but still. I think he's useful in 90% of the situations inside of Warframe, so I'm definitely gonna place him in A tier. But yeah, the Monkey Boy is very great, and if you can, definitely pick up this Warframe. The requirements are pretty simple. You just need to have a clan, and there you go, you got the Warframe. So Wisp. Wisp is very great for her motes, but honestly, I did place her in high B tier because of that. But you can honestly just get what's it called? Spectre of Wisp, and just to place down her first ability, so that's not really that great, but she's very survivable. She has very great buffs with her motes, and her fourth ability does do a decent sum of damage, I have to say. She can blind enemies as well, and she can move around really fast. So a very decent Warframe, very well balanced and a great supporter frame. Honestly, in my opinion, a much better Trinity in some aspects, of course, and yeah, definitely high B tier, and actually in the top of the B tier. So Protea is a very great frame. She does rely on shields most of the time, so shields are not the best, but if you take advantage of shield gating, then you know she's definitely going into A tier. But she can be used for extermination missions, for capture missions. I guess I wouldn't really use her. I would definitely use Wukong or Wisp even. But she's good in that aspect as well. Her Time Rewind is a good ability, even though I don't get to use it a lot inside of missions, but nonetheless a great ability. Her, what's called her little well of life, I guess you could call it. I actually forgot the exact name of it. But giving you energy, ammo, and of course health is very good. A little bit slower paced, for example, than Necros, because Necros with his Desecrate can definitely give you more. But with her artillery and her little, I guess, first ability, whatever it's called, those little things that, you know, do damage, is very great as well. So she's a very good and well-rounded caster frame, in my opinion. And moving on to A tier. So, Nidus. I think this is self-explanatory. Nidus is a very good survival frame. Honestly, I think maybe one of the best, if not the best survival frames inside of the game. You could use Wukong as well, but Nidus, in my opinion, is very good. When he dies, he uses 10 stacks if you have them, so he can't literally die. Definitely a much better, what's his name? Inaros. Where is Inaros? Definitely a much better Inaros in my opinion. He only has health, which is okay. You might think that's a downside, but it definitely isn't. He is one of the first frames that I placed my Umbral Formers on because I knew it was going to be useful on him. His abilities synchronize very well. He can get damage reduction with his third ability. He can crowd control with his second. He can get stacks with his first and do damage. And it, of course, gets better and better damage-wise the more stacks you have. And his fourth ability can heal you and your teammates and does damage in sort of like a little area. You have these little bugs that run around and then chew on enemies' footsies, and then they die. Not really fast, but they still die, which is really cool. Korra, I think this is pretty much everybody saw this coming, and Korra is going to be very good. She's good for farming. She's very good for her Whip Claw and her augment for Whip Claw, accumulating Whip Claw if you wanted to know the exact name. So very good damage frame and a very good crowd controlling frame as well. So she's very well balanced and well balanced, I guess. I mean, she is balanced, but a very good CC frame. Not CC, sorry. Well, yeah, actually CC and crowd controlling and crowd controlling and crowd damage, I guess, or just in general damage. Mesa, I mean peacekeepers, peacemakers. Sorry, not peacekeepers. Peacemakers. Pretty plain and simple. She has Shadow Shield, which reduces enemy incoming damage as well. She has a buff that increases damage and I guess clogs up the enemy's guns, puts I don't know, butter inside of them, and they don't shoot well, I think. And yeah, pretty useful Warframe in my opinion. Very good for defense missions and survival missions in some situations as well. She can be good for extermination missions. And Necros. Necros pretty cool. He has his Desecrate, which gives you extra loot, and nobody gets mad when you get extra loot, and Shield of Shadows if you want to play longer missions, and that's pretty much it. What do I have to say about Necros? He's a very good frame, and he's used a lot, especially in survival missions, and especially in grindy farming missions. We have, of course, Nova. The Nova, slow and speed, so slowing down and speeding up enemies, that's very good in most situations. Mostly speeding up. I didn't really see many slow Novas in the past couple of months, but definitely speeding up enemies, making them more susceptible to damage, that's always great to have. Why not have it if you possibly have the chance? She's squishy as hell, but definitely you don't have to worry about that, because if you're running Nova, you're probably going to have a damage dealing enemy or damage dealing Warframe, sorry, inside of your team, so you don't have to worry about that. Wukong I already talked about. Octavia, great crowd controlling frame and great damage dealing frame, and a great buff frame as well. If you want to buff the damage of your team and the stats, maybe make your friends invisible, maybe make their guns shoot faster, definitely Octavia. She does a decent sum of damage with her, of course, first and second ability and her fourth amp, so really great frames, and her abilities synchronize very well. Seren, the Toxic Queen, definitely one of the best frames for dealing damage inside of the game. I'm just moving them around just to have fun, but that doesn't mean they're going to be higher or lower on the list. Definitely one of the better frames, and definitely the best damage dealing frame. Her spores do a ton of damage. Miasma's a good ability as well. Then just in general, a best frame. She's used for ESO, Elite Sanctuary Onslaught, if you don't know. Well, very good there as well, and very good in ordinary missions as well. Korra is very good in one area, but so what's her name? Seren is very good in a larger area with dealing damage, but Korra, in my opinion, is better just because of that farming attribute, which makes her much better, and her accumulating Whip Claw can do tons and tons of damage as well. Seren is better in a bigger area, and Korra is better in a smaller area. And then we have Rhino, or what's his name? I don't know. I had nothing fun to say about him. I kind of, my brain froze here. But Rhino, Iron Skin, very useful ability. Can sort of, make you invulnerable and have a well, not really invulnerable, but you're invulnerable until you run out of Iron Skin. but nonetheless, iron skin very good for him. You can get 100,000 or even more iron skin if you use the ironclad charge and iron shrapnel, I think the augment mod's called. And if you don't want that, you can be the Warframe inside of your team that buffs the damage of your weapons. So that's really cool as well. Stomp is a good AoE ability that will crowd control some enemies, and yeah, in general, definitely does deserve to be an A tier, plus it's easy to get and new players can get him pretty easily. So yeah, this has mostly been it. This is my tier list. If I made a mistake, you think, then definitely leave it in the comment section below. Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, this has been the Gaming Weasel, and leave a like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next one. See ya.